Well, here with me are two Conservative MPs from either side of this debate. First of all, Bill Cash and Stephen Dorrell. But first of all, Bill Cash, you must be delighted with what Lord Lawson has had to say today.
Well, I do think he's right, although I do think actually that the referendum should take place before the general election.
But that's not going to happen, is it?
Well, I wouldn't bank on that, actually, because there's going to be enormous pressure on the marginal seats. You only have to look at what happened with UKIP last week to realise that there are an enormous number of marginal seats that could easily be lost. And if that continues, and if the referendum issue is as big as it is, and I think it's a historic question now, then I think it should be before the general election, as I said in the party conference last year.
OK. Stephen Dorrell, I imagine you're not so happy with what Lord Lawson has had to say.
Well, I always listen to what Nigel Lawson says with considerable respect, and I think what he's done is to project the argument beyond the debates about a referendum for or against. I'm in favour of a referendum. But what he's done is to remind us of the substance of the issue, which is that Europe has changed. This is not the same argument as it's been over the last 30 years. There is now a single currency zone. There are euro ins and euro outs. And the fundamental issue is what is going to be the relationship in the future between the euro ins and the euro outs.
Are you happy with the position that the Prime Minister is taking, which is basically we'll have a negotiation and then we will have the vote in 2017? That's rather a long way off, isn't it?
Well, I think it's very hard to take Lord Lawson seriously and not provide the time for the kind of negotiation that is required to sort out an issue of that importance. As I say again, it's not the same issue as it's been for the last 30 years. There is a Eurozone. We are not members of it. We're not going to be members of it. And the issue is what is to be the relationship between those who are in the Euro and those who are outside it.
I mean, Bill Cash, Lord Lawson says it's a waste of time, David Cameron, going off to Europe and trying to renegotiate an agreement. Do you think he's right?
Well, it is a fundamental question, and the fundamental question is not only in relation to our relationship with Europe in terms of sovereignty and the whole question of who governs Britain, but it's also about the economy. And I think that Stephen's rather ducking that question because actually, for example, our trade balance in 2011 with the 26 member states was a loss, a deficit of 47 billion. Within 1 year, 2012, it had gone up to minus 70. Now that just shows that the so-called single market is simply not working for the benefit of the small and medium-sized businesses of this country.
So you want Britain to come out, we know that. How are you going to force, though, the hand of the Prime Minister to get this referendum earlier?
I don't think it's a matter of forcing. I think it's a matter of persuasion.
But he doesn't want to do it earlier.
No, well, we'll wait and see. I mean, I've said to you, and I believe this strongly, that actually, if you look at the mood in the country, if you look at the surge of UKIP, if you actually look at the Conservative associations and you hear their comments after these recent elections, and if you look at the position of those in marginal seats who are liable to lose them, not to UKIP, but because of UKIP's intervention. That's the key question, and it's going to happen.
Well, Stephen Dorrell, isn't that a problem that UKIP is putting pressure on your party? Wouldn't it be much better to get this issue out of the way quickly?
Well, yes, in one sense, of course, it would be nice to get it out of the way, to use your phrase. But Bill Cash says I'm ducking the issue. Actually, I think far from that. What I'm doing is addressing the issue that Lord Lawson says in his article has redefined the issue. And that's the fact that some parts of Europe are part of the single currency, other parts are not. We're not. We're not the only one that isn't. The relationship between those who are members of the euro and those who are not is the fundamental question, which needs to be addressed, and trying to do it at the run would more or less guarantee getting it wrong.
If I can put it this way round quickly, because we're running out of time, I suspect, actually the substance of the issue is about whether or not we govern ourselves, but also whether or not the European Union is actually, excuse me, Stephen, is actually in the interests of the United Kingdom in terms of trade, small businesses, deregulation, the City of London, and all these other things which are now accumulating against us. That's why it becomes a matter of economic substance as well as political.
Final word from Stephen Dorrell.
I agree with all of that, and Bill and I have agreed for some time that it's a question that needs to be put in a referendum. The question is how you frame it is to ensure that the question that's put to the people is a realistic question that looks to the future, not to the Europe of the past, and in particular looks to the Europe where there is one part of Europe in the single currency zone and another part outside.
And that's why I think it should be trade and political cooperation. That's what the name of the game is.
Bill Cash, Stephen Dorrell, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That's a debate I suspect will continue, certainly inside the Conservative Party, certainly inside the country until we get that referendum, assuming we get it, perhaps in 2017, perhaps even sooner.
Andy, thank you very much.